Welcome back to the Nomadic Gaming Guild. I'm your host, Joe. So on top of the 4 major seasonal sales, there are amazing games with amazing deals on Steam every single week. So with that being said, I searched through countless discounts and comprised 10 great games worth your attention right now. Let's check it out. So let's start out with Dead Island Definitive Edition. Dead Island Definitive Edition originally was $20, but with a 90% discount, it is now only $2 until July 23rd. Dead Island Definitive Edition is a first-person zombie action-adventure game where you can play either by yourself or up to 3 other friends, and where you can team up to tackle various quests found on the island, and where you get to fight merciless zombies, whether using melee weapons, firearm weapons, physical attacks, or even environmental attacks like shooting a barrel to explode it at nearby zombies, just as an example. As you fight the enemies and complete the various quests, it is essential because that would help you accumulate experience points to help you level up, and whereas you level up, you can use the leveling up to buy different skills at a skill tree in order for you to become stronger and more ready for what lies ahead. So yeah, it is a really fun, chaotic game to definitely take a look at. Once again, Dead Island Definitive Edition originally was $20, but with a 90% discount, it is now only $2 until July 23rd. Now up next is Grand Theft Auto 5. Grand Theft Auto 5 originally was $30, but with a 50% discount, it is now only $15 until July 28th. Grand Theft Auto 5 is an open-world action-adventure game set in San Andreas, which is an imaginary resemblance of Southern California, and where in this classical game you get to roam around, whether it is in the countryside or go about in the city of Los Santos, which is based on, you know it, the real-life Los Angeles, California. As you go about in the game, you can travel via foot or via vehicles. As you go about in the area, you get to complete various heists, where many of the missions consist driving around and shooting simultaneously. It is something in which it is really chaotic and really fun. Now, as far as Grand Theft Auto 5 is concerned, aside from the main campaign, there's also a multiplayer mode where it supports up to 30 gamers and where you get to experience various co-op and competitive game modes. So yeah, it is something in which it is really fun. Once again, Grand Theft Auto 5 originally was $30, but with a 50% discount, it is now only $15 until July 28th. Now up next is A Plague's Tale: Innocence. A Plague's Tale: Innocence originally was $30, but with a 90% discount, it is now only $4 until July 30th. A Plague's Tale: Innocence is a story-driven game where there is a lot of dark horror as well as stealth elements to it. In this game, you get to play mostly as Amika, although sometimes you will also play as her younger brother Hugo, and where you will experience their story as they must struggle to survive in an unforgiving world during one of the most darkest times in ancient history in France. Throughout the game, there constantly will be enemies where some of them will be, soldiers that are trying to come at you to kill you, but there are also enemies where you are surrounded by mobs of rats where they flood areas around you, and where the only way to clear out the rats to disperse them is to light up a firing torch, and where the light disperses the different mobs of rats. As you go about the game, because you are children and a lot weaker, the soldiers are much stronger than you. You must go about with being really tactical, whether it is sneaking past them or throwing a rock to distract them, just as a few examples. Or there are also times that I'm not going to give you spoilers where you have to face bosses, but you also have to be really tactical and smart in it, kind of like if you were David fighting Goliath. I know that's not a perfect analogy where you overcome all odds, but you have to be really precise and whatnot, where if you even get hit once, you're dead. But anyways, as far as this game goes, the major selling point of it is not really the action side of things. Like I said, it is mostly a story-driven game. So the thing about this game, the major selling point is that it is something in which you get to experience a very emotional story where the characters love and bond towards each other and do all it takes to survive and build trust. So yeah, if story-driven games are your vibe, definitely check out A Plague's Tale: Innocence. Once again, A Plague's Tale sales, Innocence originally was $30, but with a 90% discount, it is now only $4 until July 30th. Now up next is No Man's Sky. No Man's Sky originally was $60, but with a 60% discount, it is now only $24 until July 27th. No Man's Sky is an action-adventure galaxy game where you can choose to play either by yourself or with a few friends, and where you get to explore the galaxy with various planets, as well as engage in various combat, as well as roam around mining and obtaining different resources to build various bases. It is a great game where you can allow your wildest imaginations to unfold, and where you can easily pick up and drop whenever, in my personal opinion. So yeah, if all that sounds interesting to you, definitely check out No Man's Sky. Once again, No Man's Sky originally was $60, but with a 60% discount, it is now only $24 until July 27th. Now up next is Devil May Cry HD Collection. Devil May Cry HD Collection originally was $30, but with an 85% discount, it is now only $4.49 until July 23rd. Devil May Cry HD Collection includes Devil May Cry 1, Devil May Cry 2, as well as Devil May Cry 3 Special Edition. 3 for the price of 1, baby! Devil May Cry HD Collection, what I love about these games is that I really enjoy the hack and slash action. It is something in which I find is really satisfying as I go about tackling the various missions with great disrespect, slicing down those different enemies, as well as busting the objects around me and collecting those different red orbs. It's just something that I find that is really satisfying to my soul. Now, as far as the Devil May Cry games are concerned, it really motivates me to complete the different missions the best I can. When I say the best I can, means that going about the missions, slicing down the different enemies as quick as possible, as well as collecting as many orbs as possible, and also trying my best not to die. Because all these put into consideration, they would help you collect more orbs at the end of each mission, and collecting more orbs will help you in the game because the orbs are basically quote-unquote currency, where you can use that to buy different skills, buy weapon upgrades, and also some essential resources like, health items to assist you throughout the game, because there are points in the game where it could be a bit challenging and where you would need those when necessary. If hack and slash style games are your vibe, then definitely check out Devil May Cry HD Collection. You will not be disappointed. Once again, Devil May Cry HD Collection originally was $30, but with an 85% discount, it is now only $4.49 until July 23rd. Now up next is Celeste. Celeste originally was $20, but with a 75% discount, it is now only $5 until July 28th. Celeste is a lovely 2D platformer game with retro vibes to it. In this game, you get to play as Madeline, where she is on this self-journey for discovery and purpose, and where you assist her while playing as her as she goes about trekking up, Celeste Mountain. There are a lot of really interesting secret areas to explore, as well as really interesting characters to engage with as you go about in the game, where it could teach you a lot about life, at least in my personal opinion. Now, as far as Celeste is concerned, what I would love to also praise about the game is that it brings about diverse puzzles to solve, in which at times it could be annoying when you don't know how to solve it, because if you don't solve it properly, you could just die. But at the same time, the diversity of the different puzzles just really helps me to use my brain to think and go about navigating in the game, and that is something that I find really important, because what's the point of a game if you don't get to work on your brain? But anyways, if you love, platformer games, and you love games where you can have a sense of freedom to explore, but also have a bit of structure, and you also love games with beautiful music and whatnot, definitely check out Celeste. Once again, Celeste originally was $20, but with a 75% discount, it is now only $5 until July 28th. Now up next is Silent Hill 2. Silent Hill 2 originally was $70, but with a 60% discount, it is now only $28 until July 27th. Silent Hill 2 is a horror game where you get to explore a really sketchy and scary, creepy town that's engulfed deep in fog, and where there are also scary monsters that will come at you. Now, as far as this game is concerned, with the scary monsters, it is best to not fight all the different monsters, as the monsters are much more powerful than you. I mean, obviously, if you have to fight them, you gotta do what you gotta do, but if you don't have to fight all of them, don't, as you can easily get killed. So yeah, if you really love horror thriller games, then Silent Hill 2 may be up your alley. Once again, Silent Hill 2 originally was $70, but with a 60% discount, it is now only $28 until July 27th. Now, up next is Valheim. Valheim originally was $20, but with a 50% discount, it is now only $10 until July 26th. Valheim is a beautiful open-world RPG game where you get to build, fight, as well as gather food and resources, and also farm, hunt, as well as mine. Basically do all it takes to be prepared as an inhabitant on a Viking-vibed island. Now, as far as Valheim is concerned, even though it is a really beautiful world, but at the same time, it is really a brutal and hostile world, and where your imagination, as well as your resourcefulness with gathering the different resources to survive, as well as build the different bases to be prepared to be defending yourself, that is tremendously essential as far as this game is concerned. Now, if that scares you, don't worry, because as far as Valheim is concerned, you don't have to navigate the world alone. Valheim supports up to 10 players in co-op mode, where you can team up to gather the different resources as well as build the different bases and engage in bringing down the different bosses. So yeah, it is a really interesting and fun game if you are somebody who loves those that have less structure and where you can have your wildest imaginations brought to life. Once again, Valheim originally was $20, but with a 50% discount, it is now only $10 until July 26. Now, up next is The Artful Escape. The Artful Escape originally was $20, but with a 75% discount, it is now only $5 until July 23rd. The Artful Escape is a lovely and fun platformer game with rhythm elements to it. As far as this game is concerned, you get to play as Francis, who is a teen with a guitar, and where you get to assist him metaphorically on giving him courage to face his calling in life, fueled by his passion in becoming a rock musician one day. Now, as far as The Artful Escape is concerned, what I think is the major selling point of it is the art vibe that it provides. As you go about progressing in the game, you have the privilege to play various musical effects where you get to impact the various landscapes. For instance, as you shred the guitar, you will bring life into the world. The trees sprout, the flowers blossom, as well as the wildlife glows and dances to the music. It's just something that just brings a lot of aesthetic vibes that just makes me feel like a kid again. Now, as far as this game is concerned, there are quote-unquote boss encounters, but they are not really the boss encounters where you fight them and kill them and stuffs. As far as the quote-unquote boss encounters are concerned, the bosses basically play a melody, and where you as Francis must respond to the melody by using your guitar. There will be a button prompt for you to press the corresponding button, and where it will bring about a tune that will match with the melody. So yeah, it is a really lovely game about following and developing your passions, as well as having really cool mechanics that just brings everything to life. So that is something that I find is really awesome. Once again, The Artful Escape originally was $20, but with a 75% discount, it is now only $5 until July 23rd. Alright, last but not least, Red Dead Redemption 2. Now, as far as Red Dead Redemption 2 is concerned, you can choose between whether you want to just go with the base game bare bones, where it originally cost $60, but with a 75% discount, it is now only $15 until July 23rd. Now, you can also choose to go with the Ultimate Edition, which includes all the single player content as well as some online bonus items, and where that originally cost $100, but with an 80% discount, it is now only $20 until July 23rd. As far as Red Dead Redemption Redemption 2 is concerned, it is an action-adventure game set in a fictionalized, reimagined Wild West, in the sense that the vibe and aesthetics, they bring about the look and feel of the Wild West, but at the same time, the names as well as the lands are all fictional. As far as the gameplay is concerned, it is something that is really satisfying and there are lots to do. As far as side activities are concerned, you could duel, you could bounty hunt, and many more. As far as combat is concerned, you can choose to engage in melee combat, firearms combat, use bow and arrow, as well as dual wield weapons and many more. It is a game in which it is just really fun and really satisfying if you are somebody who loves action-adventure games. Once again, Red Dead Redemption 2, you can choose whether you want to go with the base game or the Ultimate Edition, where they are both on sale, in which the base game originally was $60, but with a 75% discount, it is now only $15 until July 23rd. Now, as far as the Ultimate Edition is concerned, where it includes all single-player content as well as some online bonus items, that originally cost $100, but with an 80% discount, it is now only $20 until July 23rd. Alright friends, these are 10 great games that are on sale in the Steam store right now. Let me know in the comment section below, are there any games in which you picked up right now that are in a really hefty discount in which you recommend that I did not mention on this list? We'll love to discuss. Now, if you really love this video and find it helpful, please like, comment, share, as well as hype this video. It will help other people who are on the bargain hunt to find great deals on Steam to take a look at my video to get some inspiration about some awesome games to get at really great prices. So yeah, thank you very much from the bottom of my heart. Now, as far as my schedule is concerned, usually I try to post on Tuesdays at 6 p.m. Pacific time and occasionally on Fridays. Now, there are times in which there are timed videos where I would post on other days, but for the most part, I would try my best to post on 6 p.m. Pacific time on Tuesdays and occasionally on Fridays. Now, obviously today is Monday, and with all the other things I have going on in life, I don't think I would have a video up tomorrow because that is too close. So usually if I post on Mondays, then I will not post on Tuesdays because that is too close and I don't really have the capacity to produce content every single day, at least not right now. So yeah, keep that in mind that this video for Monday would be in replacement of the Tuesday's video. So yeah, just to keep that in mind, and thank you very much for all the love and support from the bottom of my heart. Once again, my name is Joe from the Nomadic Gaming Guild, and game on!